Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is me again, Insane Gorilla, and welcome back to my channel. This is What If Female Deku was the reincarnation of Raiden. Now, this is part 2. Considering that, well, I actually did like my video that I made up on it, made last time. So, I honestly hope you'll like this next video. This is going to pick up where we last left off, with Izumi pretty much taunting Class 1A. Here we go. But before we go, please like, comment, and subscribe for more, because every comment helps, and including every like helps as well. Let's get the likes above 7 this time, please, for the next part. Here we go. Inside the building of the training ground, Beta, Izumi smiles as she limbers up. Mineta, obviously seeing the honkers and, well, the strip of cloth, obviously in front of Izumi's crotch area. Mineta was just drooling and fantasizing about getting a quick sneak peek underneath Izumi's less than adequate skirt. Kiro, or Sue, as she likes to be called, used her tongue to smack Mineta across the face. Everybody else that haven't seen Izumi's quirk, aka the lightning quirk that she has, are, well, some are arrogant enough, aka Bakugo, even though he has seen Izumi use lightning before. Some are on the fence, Momo and Ida. Ida and Izumi may not have started off on the best foot, but he knows not to go ahead and, well, attack. And, well, Kirishima, he hardens up his body because he knows something's not right. She's obviously limbering up her body, so obviously she's most probably had a bit of training in either martial arts or boxing, even though she's literally a martial arts master at this point. Might as well just go ahead and say she's a master at this point. But Araka knows about Izumi's lightning, so she's like, oh shit. I've seen her use a lightning spear before, and that was devastating. The rest of the class are either on the fence about attacking Izumi, or getting ready to, well, just go out and try and tackle her to the floor. Momo is biting her fingernail as she's thinking up a strategy. Todoroki just walks up and just puts his foot on the floor as ice shoots towards Izumi. As all he just says is, I don't have time for this. Just freeze and we win already. Izumi sees this. The ice is coming quickly at her. Izumi just jumps, tucks herself into a ball, and, well, full on does a front flip in her, well, in the state of a ball. As she lands on the floor, one hand touching the ice, with her knee coming up to her cheek, and her other leg stretched out. And she looks at Todoroki. Her hat doesn't even move, which was surprising because she has to look up at Todoroki. Fascinating. You heroes might actually be a challenge. Izumi pulls her extended left leg in and stands up. As everybody's shocked by how quickly Izumi moved. Bakugo charges in, screaming, die! Izumi just spins and basically clocks him in the cheek with the backhand of her right fist as Bakugo is shot out of the room down to, well, ground level because he went straight through a window. As everybody was shocked that Izumi could just... Okay, just to put it on everybody else's POV, Izumi moved at the blink of an eye. You blinked and Bakugo was gone. She moved that fast. To Izumi, Bakugo was just going normal speed, she was just quicker. So she doesn't actually tell that she can move faster than everybody else. The only time she can actually tell is when she's actually running. So just standing still and backhanding Bakugo with the back of her fist, she couldn't tell that she was moving that fast. But to everybody else, it was just a blink and Bakugo was gone. So everybody now knows that Izumi is fast and extremely strong. Some people who have seen Bakugo fight know that Bakugo is not exactly the most fragile individual, but he's not exactly the most sturdiest either, so they know that he's most probably going to come away from this with either a bruised ego or a broken jawline, considering they could have sworn they had something go crack in Bakugo's POV, well, in Bakugo's body somewhere. Most probably his jaw, so he's most probably going to have a busted jawline for a while. As Izumi just stands there, fist pretty much still extended to where she punched Bakugo with the backhand of her fist. Next, Izumi would just say, and she'll put one foot in front of the other, and she'll crouch down. Her fingers would turn, well, she'd turn her hand down and curl her finger, well, most of her fingers, but leave her middle finger slightly more jagged out. If you don't know where I'm going with this, look at, I believe it's Bucky, where you can use, I believe it's his middle finger, to carve out a bit of skin from one of his opponents. I can't rightly tell if that was actually him or his father who did that. But I could be 100% wrong on both, and it could have been someone else. Now, when she did this, Kirishima, we were just going to say he does boxing and a little bit of karate. He does notice the move, and he knows that it's called the Devil's Finger. Now, I don't mean that in the most sensual way ever. I mean the Devil Finger, aka the finger that can gouge out the skin. I believe that's what the name is actually called in Baki. I'm not 100% sure. So when Kirishima sees that, he calls it out. That's the Devil Finger. Watch out. She could do a lot of damage on the skin with that very finger. It's always the middle finger. It's never any other finger. It's always the middle. So be careful. It's going to sting, and you're most probably going to lose a bit of skin from it. Izumi just smiles. The smile looking very scary, considering that the hat is still not moving. Regardless of what anybody tries to do, they all feel like they're going to not be able to get that hat to move an inch. But Zero, I believe his name is, the one with the tapes for, well, tape rolls for arms, or for joints in his elbow, reaches out his elbow and fires some tape. Izumi moves her whole body one way and bends it in a way that says the human body can't actually bend like that. Think of, for better analysis, think of the agents from the Matrix. I should also mention that just use the Matrix agents, or the agents from the Matrix, for whenever Izumi dodges stuff. So she leaves literal after images just to make it more easier. So Izumi just looks at him, and Sero's eyes are bulging out of his skull as that was impossible. She wasn't even looking at him, and she moved as if she knew who was attacking her first. Then Mineta just said, "Sticky ball attack," as he just froze sticky balls all at Izumi's legs and, well, any area he could, well, aim for. Because he's a pervert, he's going to aim for the most perverted areas ever, aka her chest and, well, the flap covering her area. And so he's throwing balls all around her to trick her, and also throwing stuff at her chest and, obviously, like I said, down below. Izumi just moves back a few steps, dodges, but one came incredibly close to squidging itself onto her chest. Lightning came out of her body and zapped it away. And she looks at Mineta with the glare that says, "I know what you're trying to do, you perv." Mineta's head is starting to bleed because he's throwing so many. Izumi doesn't even hesitate. Speed unknown to everybody else. She turns up and full on drop kicks Mineta in the face. Now Mineta couldn't see anything because that thin bit of cloth tucked itself in between her legs, rather snugly, so Mineta couldn't even see anything. And she basically drop kicked him back down the stairs. Now Mineta still survived this, but he's going to have one hell of a headache. Izumi turned. Momo created a metal staff to fight off Izumi, forgetting that Izumi has electricity, considering she just saw electricity or lightning zap one of Mineta's purple balls away. Just to let you know, Momo's panicking. Okay, she wasn't expecting Izumi to be this quick, because once again, Izumi and Momo were not in the same area, because Momo was recommended to go into UA, so Momo never saw Izumi's power. Todoroki's shocked as he turns around. He basically doesn't really care about anybody else, he just wanted to win. So he goes to put his foot back down to freeze Izumi up and everybody else so he can just win. Only for Izumi to turn up beside him. Todoroki's eyes widen. He turns his head, only to have a fist hit him directly where his burned eye was, as he basically lets out a yelp of pain. Izumi then 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 taps, 4 taps, 5 and 6 taps, 4 in Todoroki's chest, 2 in his guts, and the last one, which is the 8th one, right underneath the chin, causing Todoroki to hit the ceiling, then hit the floor. Of course, the ice was there to cushion the impact, but he was still in quite a bit of pain. She then sees Zero trying to use his tape again, but this time Tsuyu grabbed his tape and ran and slid directly underneath Izumi's legs, hoping to tie one of Izumi's legs up so she can trip, only for Izumi to pretty much lash out her left leg, clocking Tsuyu in the side of the jaw, in the side of the arm, her left arm, causing her to actually spin out and tie herself up. Izumi pretty much apologizes in her head for doing such a dirty move, but Izumi has been taught in martial arts, so she's pretty much keeping an eye on all of her surroundings. And seeing Tsuyu go in between her legs, pretty much with the tape, Izumi just guessed that they're most probably going to try and trip her up. She wasn't actually 100% sure, so that's why she lashed out her left leg. and clocked Tsuyu's left arm. She then looked at Zero, she cut his tape, grabbed it, span it around, yanked him towards her, and elbowed him in the face, breaking his visor, and basically hitting him smack in the forehead and knocking him out. He flipped and landed on his back. She then heard Momo scream, "Ida, blitz her!" Ida came charging up using a reciprocal burst. As Izumi pretty much, moved to the left? No, moved to the right. As she grabbed Ida and slammed him, back first into the floor, then doing a few quick punches to the chest, and flipping him upside down. So he's 1 in chest pain, but 2 also disoriented. Kirishima comes up to her. His arm pretty much turned into the solid defense he is known for. As he just says, "Take this," as his fist comes down to hopefully distract her. Izumi dodges just in time, but she could feel the air whoosh past her body. Her heart is, by the way, Izumi's heart is racing due to A, adrenaline, and B, battle instincts. You may be saying you're just making Izumi overpowered. Again, Izumi's the reincarnation of Raiden. And in my personal opinion, Raiden is called the Thunder God, so technically the Thunder Gods are technically overpowered. Look at Thor, for God's sake. He is weakened purely because of Mjolnir. I can't say Norse mythology, hang on. Like I was saying, sorry. Basically Thor's hammer. I can't say the hammer's name to save my life. So yeah, Thor was only weakened because of his hammer. Including, Odin even said the only reason why he gave him his hammer was to A, make sure he is under control so he doesn't lose it. Because of, if he doesn't have the hammer, Asgard could be in minor trouble. Because of the lightning. So yeah. And Zeus is the king of Olympus and the Greek pantheon. And he is technically overpowered as hell. If he actually chose to go up against all the gods, he could actually possibly win. The only people he would actually have a problem with is Poseidon and Hades. Ares would be easy. It's like, "Hey Ares, your missus over there is asking for you to give her a quickie. Zap, you're down." Anyway, enough of my tangent. So, after Izumi had dealt with most of the class, the duplet arms guy decides to launch multiple fists, or multiple attacks, using sound to try and confuse Izumi. He uses his ears to try and, his extra ears to see if he can hear any irregularities in her heartbeat. He also uses his eyes to, 1, check her out, to see if he can find weaknesses, and only to find weaknesses. But all he can tell, that even from just facing Izumi himself, he can tell from his other eyes that she has, so far, shown no signs of fatigue or even weakness. He doesn't know what she has gone through, but he knows that she's not exactly going hard on them, but she's not going easy either. Then Sugar Guy turns up. He downs quite a bit of sugar and he bulks up. He rushes in to help Kirishima. And little Kaminari, with his lightning-based ability, or his electricity-based abilities, which is also considered to be lightning, he shouts 100 100 volts, and he fires them at Izumi. Now, considering Izumi is lightning based, anything to do with electricity wouldn't even hurt her. So she just allows it to hit her, as it just goes around her, and she just directs it back, hitting Kaminari smack in the chest and sending him flying backwards, and hitting a wall, knocking himself out. Jiro runs up to use her ear jacks to make heartbeats loud enough to disorient Izumi. While she gets into position, Momo readies to fire a cannon with a net. And, well, when Kaminari and Sugar Rush, I can't remember the guy's name. I know a lot of people call him Captain Diabetes because of how much sugar he has. But I'm literally just going to call him by his actual hero name, which I believe is Sugar Rush. So, he pretty much starts fighting with Kirishima, letting the girls get themselves into position so they are ready to spring a trap. Izumi, focusing on these two, is not exactly dumb. She notices what the girls are doing as well. It is teamwork, and it's really good teamwork. But, considering it's only 4 against 1, and out of her whole class, she doesn't even count the guy with multiple arms, because A, he hasn't even done anything yet, other than just checking her out to see if there's any weakness that they can exploit. She pretty much just fights both Kirishima and Sugar Rush. Using her own skills, she pretty much finds an easy way to deal with Sugar Rush. She just dodges his attacks, gives him a few firm hits here and there to weaken him, until he finally starts running out of steam. She then just flips him upside down and karate chops him in the gut, forcing him to hit the floor hard. She then sees Kirishima, who had finally dropped his hardening because he was running out of energy, and she just kicked him in the chest, sending him flying into Jiro. And then Izumi ducks as acid goes over her head. She looks to her left to see Mina pretty much having her acid drip onto the floor. Mina's eyes are kind of like scared, like, yeah, go girl power. But Izumi's taking on the entire class and winning, which is terrifying. Momo screams, "Mina, try your best." Ochako, get to the bomb. Ochako runs, or tries to run past Mina, only for a lightning whip to wrap around Ochako and bring her flying towards Izumi. Ochako braces for impact, only to have a hand gently place itself on the back of Ochako's neck, and a light zap goes through her body, knocking Ochako out. It was light enough for it not to actually show an actual burn, but there's a slight burn there to prove that she had used her lightning power to knock her out. Now the Duke Arms had to pull his arms back, because he now knows that this is going to be tough. The only one that Izumi had not picked up on was the Invisible Girl. 1, she's invisible. 2, she took off her only 4 items to prove that she was even there. Her gloves and her shoes. Yeah, Izumi couldn't see her. She couldn't even hear her, considering that she was tiptoeing around Izumi, and also the ice was incredibly cold. But she was gritting her teeth, trying not to squeal in shock of how cold the ice is. And so she was making her way slowly and stealthily towards the bomb. Izumi pretty much is getting ready to face off against the final batch of the students. Momo was pretty much getting ready to fire the net as All Might just screams, "Hero Team wins." Momo, Mina, Double Arms, and Mr. Sparkles, I forgot about him, all sigh in relief. Because even Mr. Sparkles was getting rather scared at how quickly the entire class was getting deleted from the planes of consciousness for a while. Izumi turns towards the bomb, and she then hears a girl screaming, "Can somebody pass me my shoes quickly, because otherwise I'm going to freeze my toes off." So, Izumi pretty much grabs the vacant shoes and the vacant gloves as she walks up to Hagakori, I believe her name is. She places her shoes down wherever she thinks Hagakori is, only to feel someone tap her on the head, saying, "Too close, your face is about to imprint itself in my chest." Izumi pretty much backs off a little bit more, then puts her shoes down and gloves. Well, technically, no, she just holds her gloves up. Hagakori pretty much just puts her gloves on, waves, and quickly gets her shoes on as she shivers, saying, "Damn, that's cold." And so, everybody pretty much who has been knocked out pretty much is taken to Recovery Girl. Bakugo is pissed because he basically was out for the longest time. Even Todoroki got up quicker than he did. Everybody else just seemed to have this light bruising. Bakugo nearly had his whole jawline smashed off. Or that's what it felt like to him. Technically, he only was out longer because lightning zapped him in the brain, causing quite a bit of his brain functions to be scrambled for a lot longer than it should have been. So that's why he was out for a lot longer. Technically, he was out for the entire day. Todoroki was able to get up after a couple of minutes, after being put into Recovery Girl's office. Everybody then has a huge amount more respect for Izumi. Everybody refuses to even underestimate her, apart from Bakugo. Bakugo will be Bakugo, and he's always going to be a dickhead. Mineta, he refuses to go anywhere near her unless there are 100 people in front of him. He is still perving on her, but he refuses to get into a fight with her. Because honestly, who wants to get lightning kicked in the... 2 feet of lightning in the face? And All Might pretty much choose Izumi out for it. But hey, the bell goes and All Might pretty much runs off, smoking. Izumi raises an eyebrow, and she pretty much uses her lightning power to quickly go away. She finds a man who is so skinny he could be considered malnourished, standing in All Might's golden year form, or golden era form, or coughs, as he just coughs up blood, saying, "Damn it, I can't even teach a bunch of students." Izumi seems rather surprised. All Might? All Might's eyes snap open as he slowly looks behind him, his eyes wide with fear, as Izumi's just standing there with one hand on her hip. And basically, her right hip is basically slanted inward as her left hip is jutted out. Even her right knee is bent. And she looks at him with her head tilted one way, and she's blinking. Not in disgust, but confusion. What are you doing here? In a skinny form. All Might, aka Toshinori, would sigh. Well, I guess there's no point in hiding it. You've seen me in my true form now. Izumi looks at him and asks, your true form? All Might sighs and says, you know those people who flex to look tough from a swimming pool? I'm pretty much like that. Nowadays. Izumi sweat drops and says in her mind, that's a bad analogous about yourself. Izumi just pretty much then walked up to him, her subconscious superior walk coming into play, and she walks up next to him. And she puts one hand once again on her hip and basically asks with her other, why are you like this? Basically her other hand is like pointed downwards, and she's like, why did you do this? Why are you like this? Is All Might pretty much sighs. It says, you remember 5 years ago with the so-called event with toxic chainsaw? Izumi nods, saying, yeah. That fight was tough for everyone apart from you, apparently. All Might chuckles, saying, yeah, that guy managed to land a few punches on me, but he couldn't take me down. All Might then tells her, Izumi, about the scar on his left side. Basically, he lost his whole respiratory system. And basically part of his stomach. So he can only stay in his All Might form for 3 hours. It used to be around about 5, but it's recently gone down to 3. Izumi then puts it all together, saying, I'll explain why you haven't that's why you haven't been out in public more often. You've been pulling yourself away from the public eye, so when you actually retire, people think that, since it's no longer needed for a symbol of peace to be around, you are retiring. Toshinori pretty much just nods and says, yeah, pretty much. But the reason why I'm like this now is because 5 years ago, there was a fight. Me and one of my own mentors, who was an incredible woman. You and her would have gotten on like a house on fire. She was killed by a villain several years ago. I think it was long before, I think it was when you were born, I think. I don't know when you were born, but possibly when you were born, or a few years after you were born, I had faced a villain. A villain that was incredibly strong, and I spent a few years over in America to get stronger and to pull out my true potential. I came back after a couple more years of growing stronger and stronger. I came back and defeated that villain, but his body was never found. Izumi raises an eyebrow, and before she asks, All Might put his hand up and saying, it's not common knowledge for heroes to kill, but sometimes, even in public, heroes have to sometimes make the ultimate choice. Eliminate a huge threat to public safety, or let that threat continue and rot in a jail cell. I chose to try and full-on eliminate this threat. And that's when I lost my entire respiratory system. He is an incredibly powerful and an incredibly dangerous individual. I would never want anybody to go up against the man. He is just too strong. Izumi nods, saying, well, thanks for telling me, but why tell me this? Why tell me the whole story? All Might sighs and says, young Izumi, I have seen you fight. You are strong, you have muscle density there that I can see for sure. You're a lot like my former teacher, Nana Shimura. I want you to take my quirk. One for all. Izumi looks at him with a confused look. It even shows on her face as she's like squinting, like, what? All Might sighs and says, one for all. It's not really my quirk. In fact, I was given this quirk from my former teacher, Nana Shimura. This quirk can be passed on throughout the ages. It can also choose who it wants to be its next wielder. Nana Shimura told me this, and it chose me because of my pure heart and pure intentions to keep people safe. You can't force one for all onto anybody like you're giving out chocolates to someone and forcing them to have it. No. That person needs to be chosen by OFA. So you're telling me that the quirk is semi-intelligent? Yes, pretty much. From the first user who had his own quirk and was forced to have another quirk by the one I had defeated, the quirk gained its own sort of form of sentience. I am considered the 8th user. You would be considered the 9th user of OFA. Izumi puts her head back against the wall, taking off her hat, showing her, silver hair fully, as she gently bangs her head. Not enough to give her a headache, but enough to show that she's really thinking about it. I'm honoured that you want me to be the 9th user All Might. You can call me Toshinori when we're alone. Fine. I'll call you that whenever you're in your mini form, not All Might form. I'll call you All Might then. Thanks. You're welcome. But I'm going to have to think about this. My lightning-based abilities is extremely strong. And honestly, if I add myself to be the 9th user, there's a possibility that my power could overwhelm OFA and destroy its personality outright, and I'll just be the permanent user, not able to pass it on. I need to have a very long think about this. Say, next month? Find me next month on Dagobah Beach and I'll give you my answer. I will. Toshinori would walk away and slowly gain the energy to go back into his All Might form. Izumi would put her hat back on and slide her fingers across the edge. And she'd think, in her own mind, damn, this is going to take some time. She'd turn around and walk away. She'd head to the changing rooms to see that all the girls weren't there. And the boys, as she could hear, were not in their changing room either. So she walked in, took her hat off, started taking her clothes off to get her school uniform back on. As the door opened, she turned her head to see 2 girls, one with curly blue hair and another with, jet black hair. And she realises one of them is Momo. Momo-san, what are you doing here? Momo's back in her school uniform, looking for you. This is Nejire, a 3rd year. Nejire smiles and puts 2 fingers up in a victory sign. Hey, I was coming here because I'm actually getting ready to go into the training grounds, this morning. And Momo-san here was looking for you, so I offered to help her. This was the first place we both came looking. Where were you? Your classes has begun. Sorry, I was talking to you All Might. Oh, okay. What were you talking to All Might about, Izumi? Nothing important. I needed to talk to him about how to control my ability much more easier, because I thought I used a bit too much power on Uraraka. Uraraka's fine. A little bit skittish of you, but she's fine all around. I'm glad. Izumi starts putting on her clothes properly. Nejire basically cocks an eyebrow, seeing that the girl is a lot more defined in the muscle department. She can clearly see that Izumi works out enough to give her a bit of muscle, but not visibly seen. But she can also tell that Izumi is incredibly beautiful. Her silver hair was something of a oddity, but it gave her a very unique look about herself. Nezare pretty much just walked in, put her stuff down, and began getting changed anyway into her hero gear. And Izumi pretty much turned around and walked with Momo. Nezare thought to herself, damn, that girl was actually quite hot. As Nezare just gets dressed in her hero gear and walks out. So, Momo, what did I miss? Momo would look to Izumi and shrug, saying, you haven't missed much. Aizawa-sensei was just waiting for you to turn up. After I said that you went to go and speak with All Might, he said, yeah, just get her back here before lesson starts. Izumi walks in with Momo. Aizawa looks at her with a look that says, I understand why you went to All Might. Just sit down. Izumi just bows to Aizawa, gets to her seat, sits down, and the lesson starts. Moving on to the USJ attack. Several more weeks would go past, and Aizawa would tell them that they're going to the USJ. Kaminari thought the Universal Studios, well, the Universal Studio Japan, as Aizawa says no, the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, that is its official title, just USJ is the shortened version of it. There'll be 3 teachers, myself, All Might, and another hero, a rescue hero. So get your hero gear on and get on the bus. Izumi, once again, has her obvious gear on, and as she does walk and gets on, she has to take her hat off, but she puts it back on as soon as she gets off the bus. She does know that it's going to get annoying to take it on and off all the time, but it's just a hat, so it's not exactly going to get in the way of business. So as the door opens, after they get off the bus, Hero 13 introduces herself. Uraraka goes like, oh my god, Hero 13, you're my favourite hero. 13 scratches the back of her space helmet, saying, well, it's good to have a fan. 13 explains all about the rescuing part. And they have a decent few, well, scenarios with water, fire, ice, and all that. And just when the lessons come to an end, sparks start happening. All Might still isn't there because 3 hours, and it took around about 2 hours for the lesson to begin and finish. Or lessons to begin and finish. Izumi's eyes were narrow, as if something in the back of her head was telling her danger is here. Izumi turns around, and there is a portal opening up, revealing multiple villains of, I'm just going to use letters here, from C to D rank villains. And standing behind all these villains is a man with hands on his body. A hand covering his face and the back of his head. Hands on his arms. And that would be... No, and some hands down the side of his body too. Izumi looks at him in disgust and comments to herself, Mr. Handyman over there. Until the portal morphs into a humanoid figure with blazing yellow eyes. Ah, Kirigiri, the hand villain would say. We're meant to have one extra person here. Where's All Might? I don't know, Shigaraki. Perhaps our intel was off. No matter. Kill the students. 13. Protect the kids. Aizawa-sensei, there are too many of them. You can't... I can handle it, Sumi. Get out of here, now! Aizawa would run down the stairs and deactivate a lot of quirks as everybody realizes it's the Eraserhead. It's Eraserhead, the underground hero. As Eraserhead starts kicking their ass, 13 starts evacuating the kids. Of course, Kurogiri turns up and says, sorry, heroes, but we thought we'll pop in. We are the League of Villains, and we are here to kill All Might. After the kids hear this, all of them are like gasping, saying, no way. There's no way heroes could try and kill All Might. He's way too strong for them. Izumi narrows her eyes. She knows that her lightning would just go through the guy. Considering she saw villains popping out of this villain, so he must be a portal quirk user or something like that. Which she believes he is just a portal user. He can just use his body to be a portal and people can come in and out of him at any time. And so, she knows that using her quirk on him wouldn't really help. He'll just portal it away and zap her in the back. Or zap someone else. So she knows she can't use her quirk on him. Of course, Bakugo and Kirishima try. And as the guy moves away, Izumi sees the metal barring around his neck. Obviously keeping his portal, smoky body in completely intact. So it doesn't fizzle out and go everywhere. She narrows her eyes. 13 then screams black hole as she opens up one of her finger joints on her suit and begins sucking Kurogiri in. Izumi sees what he was going to do because she starts seeing some part of him open up. She pushes 13 out the way and jumps back to avoid getting black holed herself. Although a bit of her skin on her leg gets ripped off and she hisses in pain because that actually hurt. She looks at the villain who looks at her. Fascinating. You are quite quick on your feet. For a lightning user. Izumi's eyes would narrow. So her hunch was right. Someone sold them out. Now, I should really have mentioned this earlier. Izumi already had a hunch that someone sold them out. So, she thinks, could it be one of the teachers at UA, or could it be one of the students? They're here specifically, so there must be a student in UA that sold all of Class 1A out. She looks around and sees that all the students are terrified, but ready to do what must be done. Izumi just shakes her head, silently asking herself, it can't be one of the students, surely. No, it has to be a teacher. Not all teachers are good, but not all teachers are bad. AKA, some teachers are easily bribed with money, so it could be a teacher was bribed to be a spy inside of UA, but it could have also been one of the students as well. She's not counting out the students, because anybody could be a spy, including herself. And so she has to now keep an eye on students. But she's then finding herself falling from the sky. She looks behind herself to see that she's approaching water. And she knows this is a bad idea because lightning and water do not mix. As she hits the water, she tries to keep her lightning powers inside. Until she sees a villain swimming towards her, mouth wide open, going to try and chomp her to bits. She is about to use her moves, or her hand-to-hand moves, but her movement is sluggish because she's in the water. She knows this is her biggest weakness. Slow movement in water can only get you so far in a fight. If you're not equipped to fight in water, you are done for. And Azumi is not equipped to fight underwater. And if she used any of her abilities of lightning, she would fry herself. Well, not really herself, but she would fry everybody in the ocean, or in the water. And considering she knows that she's in the water, in the shipwreck zone, aka where the ship has broken down, that is all made out of metal. And if she hits that with any lightning, if there are people on board, like her classmates, if any of them are on board, she's going to end up frying them. And she doesn't want to do that. So she tries to move herself out the way. Only for Sue to turn up and kick the guy in the face, sending him flying backwards. Or to the side. And she just says, "Hey Midoriya." She shoots out her tongue, wraps Azumi in it, and pulls her up to the ocean. Or up to the surface. And basically helps Azumi up. As there would be Mineta, who is pretty much being a goddamn pansy, but when he sees Azumi's giant melons, pretty much fully on display, considering her white dress is clinging and showing the literal nipples. So he forgets about being scared and starts drooling. Azumi pulls her wet dress apart to air out a bit more. Again, Mineta drooling. Tsuyu uses her tongue to smack him so hard it snaps him out of it. Azumi just says, "Thank you, Sue." Sue just says, "Ribbit, you're welcome." Azumi then looks at the villains and sighs. This is definitely going to be a pain in the ass. "How so, Ribbit?" Tsuyu would ask. Mineta, keeping to the opposite side of Izumi, basically putting Tsuyu in between him and her. Mineta says that this is bad, this is really bad, there's no way we can get past these villains, we have to wait for All Might. Izumi looks at Mineta and scoffs, says, "How the hell did you make it into the hero program? I have no idea. You're absolutely useless." Izumi then walks over to the edge of to the opposite end of the boat, seeing that the villains are also on that side. Damn it. Should walk back to Tsuyu. Well, I'm pretty much out of ideas. I was thinking about trying to get us over to the edge that way, considering it's closer, but the villains are also over there as well. So I'm going to have to think of another idea. "I've got an idea, Ribbit," Tsuyu would say. Izumi and Mineta would both look at Tsuyu. Suyu says, "You're lightning, yes?" Izumi nods, but then shakes her head, saying, "I know what you're thinking. If I throw lightning into the water, it'll fry them and possibly kill them. Because lightning and water, very bad mix-up, especially if you're trying to escape yourself. And we're on a metal boat. It won't hurt me, considering I can control lightning, but I can't control it enough to make sure it prevents you or Mr. Pervo over there from getting absolutely shocked to fuck and back." Suyu then slumps, saying, "Ribbit, damn it, I thought I had a good idea." Then Mineta puts his hand up, saying, "How about Suyu and I jump? Suyu can jump pretty high up, and plus, as you know with my balls, I can throw them and they'll stick to anything. Why not me and Suyu jump, I throw all my balls into the ocean, and see if they can stick to some of the villains. Hopefully, if the villains try to pull the balls off, their hands will stick together. It should give us plenty of time to get over to the..." Sorry guys. Should give us plenty of time to get over to the shoreline. That way, you can jump in and zap them. Izumi would shake her head again, saying that wouldn't do either, because if you don't get far enough away, the water could still be slowing you down, and Suyu may be fast in water, but I doubt carrying you would help her in any state of form. Considering of that bowl you call part of your, well, outfit, it would just drag, and Suyu would have to drag you along and slow her down in the process. Mineta just then scratches his head again, saying, "Alright, perhaps that wasn't such a good idea. But in the end, it could get us somewhere. I don't mind my feet getting absolutely paralysed." As Mineta had that whole having a sexy nurse carry him some food and call him a brave hero. But, of course, Izumi just says, "Stop perving around. I know you're just thinking about having a beautiful nurse bring you food in a hospital. But I also know that you're just wanting a sexy nurse so you can perv on her. If she so happens to have a very small and slightly up higher skirt. So stop thinking about that." Mineta just deflates. Like, damn it, my plan. No. But Izumi then comes up with an idea. "Suyu, if I can throw my lightning... If I can throw you a bit of lightning power, do you think you and Mineta can make it to the other side?" And Suyu pats her cheek as her tongue sticks out. Mineta leans back and actually thinks about it himself, actually. His eyes roll around a little bit, trying to come up with the good angles to actually get them that far. But then he hits a snag. His diaper bowl. That's going to be a lot of air friction, slowing him down. Even with Izumi's lightning quirk, that is still going to virtually hold him back quite a bit. He sighs and says, "Izumi, Suyu might be able to make it, but yet again, as you've most commonly put it, my diaper bowl would not be able to get me that far. Air friction and all that. I'm going to have to either break it or redesign it." Suyu and Izumi just said, "Break it and redesign it." Mineta just sighs, knowing that he's not going to win this argument. Says, "Fine, luckily I wear appropriate swimming shorts under this, just in case. You never know when it actually fractures and breaks apart itself." So Mineta gets out, and surprisingly enough, he's got swimming trunks or swimming shorts with palm trees on them, which was surprising to both females because they were expecting him to clearly have something perverted on it. Mineta just looks and says, "What? I've been to bloody Hawaii, okay? It's one of my favourite places to go because of the sun. And because it's, well, mainly quite a beautiful place." Both girls look at him with a narrowed eye, like, yeah, we know you also go there to perv on all the half-naked girls with just bikinis on. Mineta, knowing that he's been sussed out again, just sighs. Can we just please get going? So, Suyu is the first one to get launched. And Mineta, well, Izumi just grabs him by his upper part of his hero costume and pretty much full-on kicks him. Doesn't even throw him, she just full-on kicks him in the ass, sending Mineta absolutely screaming over everybody. The villains are like saying, "Hot damn, there goes pervy boy." Because, hell, they were hearing the conversation as well. It's like, fucking hell, this guy must be one hell of a perv. If both of them are just telling him that outright, and not so quietly telling him to basically fuck off, you perv. Then they see Izumi, pretty much with her clothes still dripping with water. She looks down at the villains, and her arms start turning into... not turning, start having lightning arcing up and down her arms. One of the villains just says, "Oh shit!" He doesn't get a chance to say anything else. Lightning hits the water, and they scream in pain. The scream was that terrible, everybody could hear it. Izumi looks up to see yellow lightning off in the distance, around about the rock area, so she thinks that's Kaminari, frying his brain cells. After the villains pretty much started bobbing up and down in the water, foam coming out of their mouths, pretty much tells Izumi that they are not getting up anytime soon. And so, after that, Izumi jumps into the water herself and swims to the opposite end. And when she gets out, she tells Mineta to shut it before he says anything perverted. She kneels down next to both Mineta and Suyu, once again her clothes clinging to her skin. And once again, Mineta trying his best not to eye up Izumi's watermelons. As they see Aizawa pretty much getting beaten up by some sort of weird beak thing. Izumi whispers to Mineta, who's closest to her, "What happened?" Mineta shakily says, as quietly as possible, "That hand villain called that thing a Nomu. It's pretty much been attacking Aizawa Sensei since we got here. We don't know what it can do, but it's clearly got shock absorption or something like that. It's incredibly fast. The hand villain was clearly saying that it's got shock absorption, super strength, and something to do with increased healing. A healing quirk. A regeneration one, by the sounds of it," Izumi would whisper. "Suyu, I'm going to distract that thing. You and Mineta get Sensei out of here." Suyu would look at Izumi. "Ribbit, are you sure that's a good idea? That Nomu thing looks tough. Trust me, I think I know its weakness. Its head is completely exposed. Look at the brain. It is so exposed, I can simply drop a lightning bolt on its head and fry it. It will kill it." Mineta would look at Izumi and almost scream, "You what?" only to quickly cut himself off and whisper, "Izumi, you can't! That's murder!" Izumi looks at him and glares, saying, I don't think that thing is even alive. Look at the way it's striking. It's like it's automatically a robot. I have to fry its brain to stop it. They would see Aizawa pretty much getting held down, Nomu holding his head, as the hand villain seemed to do something to Aizawa's arm, directly where his elbow is. He screams in pain and cuts off the villain's quirk. Ah, so you have to blink, Eraserhead. I'm not gonna let you hurt my students, villain. Nomu. Nomu crashes Aizawa's head into the pavement again. But all of a sudden, lightning strikes the Nomu, sending it flying backwards. It screeches in pain. Shigaraki looks, only to have a leg smash him in the face. He pretty much goes somersaulting away and lands on his back. Young master, Shigaraki. One of the students escaped. Damn it! Kurikiri. He grabs a hand that fell from his face and puts it back on. Damn it. Nomu, kill that girl. The Nomu screeches and runs towards Izumi, who pretty much gets in a stance, ready to take on the Nomu. The fight is extensive. Nomu throwing punches left, right and centre, and basically trying to smash Izumi into pieces, even doing a few hammer strikes with his fists, basically one hand over the other fist, and slam it down as hard as possible. Izumi would punch and kick it, charging up her lightning power, only for the Nomu to suddenly disappear. What the? And she'd turn around, not seeing it, until she hears a screech. She turns around, only to have a sideways hammer blow smash her in the face. It's all that could be heard as Izumi goes flying. Everybody screams, Izumi! Izumi blacks out as she smashes into the floor. Izumi wakes up. I am... what? No. She'd hear rumbling. She'd look down to see a sea of clouds, with lightning running through it. I've been here since I was 6. She'd look around. She'd look at her hands, to see that they are her hands. She looks down to see her, well, very voluptuous breasts. Thank God, I'm actually in my own body this time. As she moves, she feels her own body stiffly move. Ow! Damn! That normal thing hit me hard. So you're my reincarnation, a male voice would say from behind her. She'd turn around to see a man that she hadn't seen for a long time. Raiden. Raiden would have the same getup as she does, obviously not as revealing. Because he's a male, obviously. Think of Raiden from MK11. That Raiden. Well, better yet, the first tournament in with Sonshu, I believe his name is. So basically think of that Raiden instead of MK11. I believe that's MK2. Mortal Kombat 2, I believe. You're Raiden, right? Indeed. I am Lord Raiden, Thunder God. And you are Izumi Midoriya, my reincarnation. Yeah. I remember you. I remember hearing your name, but that's when I was 6 years old. I know. That was me calling out to you. I was calling you, Raiden, because I was seeing your memories. And I was calling out to you, like you were calling out to me. I'm sorry it took me this long to get back in contact with you. Shinnok, who was he? An elder god. One that had been defeated by Johnny Cage. Then his daughter, Sarah Cage. So the playboy actually got a girl, huh? Yes. No longer an actor either. That's good. So, why am I here? You're in big trouble, young lady. Yeah, no kidding. I just got hit with a jackhammer from a Nomu. I know. I have been seeing what you've been seeing. Okay, creepy dude. Have you been seeing me in the shower? No. When you go to take your personal business, I make sure I'm not looking. I even turn my ears off so I don't hear it. Good. Not creepy at all. We're off topic. You need to activate your Thunder God powers immediately. I thought I already had. You're not even halfway to unlocking your full potential. I've had my powers ever since I was born. I was born a Thunder God. You weren't. My powers were passed on to you. You've been activating them slowly. Far too slowly. You're only a quarter way done activating my full power. How do I unlock it then? That's quite simple. Scream out your name. Scream out, I am Lady Raiden, Thunder Goddess, and you shall know my wrath. Go, quickly. Raiden punches Izumi in the face and says, when you come back to sleep, we will meet again. God. Izumi's eyes would snap open. Everybody would be screaming, Izumi, wake up. The Nomu getting closer and closer. All Might had arrived and was pretty much fighting off the Nomu, but the Nomu did the same move he did on Izumi and sent All Might flying. He crashed right next to her, and as soon as he did, Izumi's eyes snapped open, lightning arced everywhere. As Izumi slowly stood up, coughed out blood. I am Lady Raiden, she would say, her voice turning into a booming sound. I am the lightning goddess, and you shall know my wrath. As she screams, as lightning arced all over the place, lightning strikes smashed the ground, as a pure lightning bolt smashed into, Izumi. Her hair turned electric. Her body slowly turned more and more had more and more lightning arcing across it. Her eyes blazed with an electric fervor. Izumi starts floating in the air, lightning streaming across her body, then arcing across the floor, leaving burn marks. As she looks at the Nomu, her voice booming, with 1,000 bolts of lightning, your body turns to ash. Lightning strike. As a bolt of lightning smashes into the Nomu's brain, disintegrating it with one shot. Izumi's eyes are still blazing. She slowly floats down. She starts walking when her feet softly touch the ground. As she walks, she slowly raises her hands halfway up her sides. Looking basically like she's T-posing in Gary's mod. As she steps forth. I am finishing this, guys and girls. See you next time. Peace.